offshoring, automation, and a shift towards service jobs have all played a part in killing manufacturing jobs. The number of people actually making stuff for a living is down by over a third. In the same time, the workforce as a whole has grown by 50%. Not too long ago, this was actually seen as positive progress. Blue-collar manufacturing jobs are dangerous, harder on your body, and all around seen as inferior to working in a nice air-conditioned office, contributing to the all-encompassing service sector. But that's all started to change. People have realized that manufacturing jobs can earn more than white-collar work, and it's become a desirable career all over again. Elections are being won or lost over the promise of creating manufacturing jobs, and billions of dollars are being handed out to companies to make it happen. But the trend is not our friend, and fighting it might end up doing more harm than good. These are still incredibly difficult jobs with a very uncertain future. So why are we all of a sudden yearning for the lines?
Will return significant manufacturing jobs to our country.
All-time record for construction jobs, nearly 800,000 manufacturing jobs, the fastest growth in 40 years.
The robots can work 24/7, and you call it dark factories. It can literally be working without human intervention.
Main focus right now is automation.
Automation.
We can't have automation.
So the reason that manufacturing jobs have become so desirable all over again is actually pretty simple. In the past, the most reliable opportunity for men without a college degree to earn an income that could support a family was in manufacturing. Fast forward to today, and record numbers of people with a college degree are still struggling to find work. Very few jobs can comfortably support a family by themselves, and areas that do have high-paying jobs are unrealistically expensive to live in. It's made a lot of people realize that maybe the old factory job wasn't so bad. Back in the good old days, the way it worked was that most people in a manufacturing business would work on the factory floor. Above them would be a smaller group of supervisors with practical experience that could make sure everybody was doing their work correctly. And above them, sitting in a separate office, were the college-educated specialists and executives responsible for designing new products and setting the direction of the company. But eventually, we figured out that these jobs up here were way better than these jobs down here. So what if everybody could just do these ones? Globalization, automation, outsourcing, and tech services meant that instead of working on the factory floors ourselves, we could give those jobs to low-paid workers on the other side of the planet and move up into management positions. We made the world our factory floor, and the American workplace became the office overseeing and managing it. This was actually a pretty sweet deal, because, hot take alert, but a lot of our factory jobs kind of suck. If we could work all of the old jobs that the executives used to work, this would have been an incredible opportunity. But of course, it didn't work out like that, for two simple reasons. The first reason is that we found out there isn't actually that much space at the top of the pile. Go back 40 years, and the average office wouldn't know what a culture coordinator, corporate wellness manager, diversity and inclusion officer, social media manager, brand ambassador, or sustainability consultant even was. There are lots of extremely common jobs in modern offices that didn't exist 20 years ago. Part of this is due to technology. You can't coordinate social media if it doesn't exist. But a lot of it has been in response to finding more jobs for people to fill. Regulations, best practices, and modern initiatives have given modern workplaces more boxes to tick, which has meant more people in service jobs. But it means that the average value created by those service jobs has gone down. This white-collar inflation means that today, the people working the jobs back down at the bottom of the pyramid have kept up or exceeded most of the people trying to squeeze in up here. The second issue with making the entire economy white-collar is that eventually the countries that we outsourced the bottom of the services pyramid to wanted to make their own white-collar jobs. For the last 30 years, American companies have outsourced manufacturing to China because it was so cheap. But China has now taken those technical expertise and used it to build their own companies that are just as good, if not better than the American businesses that they have used to do the grunt work for. What this means is that 30 years ago, it was factory workers fighting off global competition for their jobs. Today, it's everybody. The solution is to bring back manufacturing and build the pyramid back up again with a solid foundation. It honestly seems sensible, except for the part where it totally misses the point. So it's time to learn how money works to find out why we yearn for the lines. This week's lesson was sponsored by Cook Unity. Here's how it usually works. Potential sponsors reach out to me, I try their product, and then decide if I want to work with them. This time though, it's a little different. I've actually been using Cook Unity for a while now, and I loved it so much that I was excited to partner with them. Cook Unity makes it easy and effortless. You can pick a subscription plan and choose from hundreds of meals each week, all crafted by award-winning chefs. Don't have time to choose? No worries. CookUnity can curate meals based on your preferences. CookUnity's roster of all-star chefs include Food Network alums, James Beard Award winners, and acclaimed restaurateurs. Their meals come fully cooked, so you just heat them up. You can choose between 4 to 16 meals a week, and the plans are super flexible. You can skip weeks, pause, or cancel anytime. Subscriptions start as low as $11 a meal, which is a steal for restaurant-quality food. For example, while I'm writing this, I'm enjoying the Piri Piri Chicken Thighs by Dustin Taylor. Absolutely incredible. Honestly, it feels like having a personal chef that changes daily, based on your cravings. Go to cookunity.com/money50 or click the link in the description and use my code MONEY50 to get 50% off your first order of CookUnity meals to try them out for yourself. Now sit down. What I'm about to say might come as a shock to you, but America is not special. We were not the only country to do the old service job switcheroo. Other advanced economies like those in Europe, Canada, and Australia also outsourced a lot of their manufacturing, and some of them went even harder than we did. Australia, which used to have a large manufacturing industry producing advanced products like automobiles and aircraft, has lost all of its major companies, and according to their own Department of Jobs and Skills, the largest manufacturing industry by employment today is baking. Don't worry, I didn't forget. That video on Australia is coming soon, so subscribe, because that place has some problems. Even the countries that we outsourced to ended up outsourcing. South Korea, Japan, and even China have started to wake up to the problems that they have caused for themselves by outsourcing the jobs that actually make the stuff to the lowest global bidder. And now everybody is in a desperate race to reverse course. Robert Lawrence, a trade and investment professor at Harvard University, recently wrote about this, arguing that this whole reversal was futile at best. Behind the Curve, Can Manufacturing Still Provide Inclusive Growth? Looks at how these jobs used to be able to provide a good quality of life to average American families and how our nostalgia for that time has made us all focus on our jobs instead of the conditions surrounding them. It doesn't matter if you forge engine blocks by hand or file TPS reports in a cubicle. You are still exchanging your time and expertise for a paycheck. The reason that manufacturing jobs look so good by comparison now is down to two important factors. The first big advantage they had was that they remained unionized. In the past, union efforts fought for pay and benefits of workers here at the bottom of the pyramid against the people up here at the top. As the population moved into white-collar jobs in the service sector, we convinced ourselves that we were the management, which is why, with the exception of a few special industries, if you sit behind a computer for a living, you are much less likely to be a part of a union. In just the past 5 years, unions representing auto workers, dock workers, and UPS drivers had negotiated pay and benefits that split opinions across the country because they were so generous it almost seemed greedy. The thing is though, if your income had also kept up with productivity, these would still be lower middle income jobs, and office jobs would pay even better still. The other thing that has made factory jobs seem really attractive all of a sudden is that factories naturally exist in areas that are cheap because of the land that's required to build them. Offices for high-end companies that can afford to pay high-end salaries are almost always in very expensive cities where you need to earn even more to live a comfortable life without 6 roommates. People are naturally much more likely to remember what someone does for a living than what the macroeconomic factors surrounding their employment are. So instead of focusing on making cities affordable, pushing for worker representation, or just offering workplace protections, it's become easier to just talk about bringing back factory jobs. Now, both sides of the aisle are absolutely guilty of pushing this oversimplistic solution, and politicians are making the same promises outside of America too. Tariffs, Build Back Better, the CHIPS Act, bailouts, and massive incentives all have the intention of creating, or at the very least, maintaining manufacturing jobs, but in his book, Lawrence has argued that this is probably just going to backfire and it could actually make a lot of problems worse. These big government programs ultimately amount to giving a lot of money to companies so they can create manufacturing jobs, but not even America can fight the force of the global economy. Instead of making money more inclusive and providing opportunities for semi-skilled workers to keep up, these programs have largely worked to funnel money into the hands of investors and business owners. They also ignore the small problem that people have already moved on. After decades of being told to upskill and go to college, people have upskilled and gone to college. These new projects are struggling to find skilled manufacturing workers to fill these roles, with some businesses resorting to hiring people through skilled worker visas, creating a situation where we have onshored the offshore jobs that were originally onshore. Now, Lawrence's book is written by a Harvard economist for Harvard economists. It's an interesting read that I will definitely leave a link for in the description, but you have been warned it's pretty heavy. Now, the good news amongst all of this is that the solution is simple. The carrot hasn't worked. Businesses have taken these government incentives and handed them to their investors. But there is always the stick. The bad news is that it's incredibly unlikely to happen. Go and watch my video on how big business got so dumb to find out why, and make sure to subscribe to keep on learning how money works.